Hello, hello again. Hello. So, who's excited for the first panel? Weekend. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we're going to be looking at history of Gunpla, which is Gundam plastic model kits. I believe I've got that right. So if you were here last year, you would have heard Ari's panel taking us through that, which was highly entertaining. So we've asked them back this year for an encore. So please welcome to the stage Erica and Ari. Have we got Ari?
Yeah,
I think you're on your own, Erica.
Hello. I'm here to destroy you in the ring, Erica Walsh. I'm here to take you down in front of all of these people. I'm here to make you pay.
Fight.
Hey, Ari?
Yeah?
That's not what we're doing today.
Sorry, what?
We're doing a panel. It's TFN.
It's TFN.
It's TF Nation!
Of course it is! Welcome!
Hello guys, how are you doing? My name is Erica Walsh and this is Ari Silvera. And we're going to tell you a little bit, sorry, it's been a while since I've used a microphone. We're going to tell you a little bit about Gunpla.
Gundam plastic model kits. Oh, I need both my notes and the clicker.
The clicker is right here, you silly person.
Thank you so much for tolerating our ridiculous dumb bit.
Yeah, the response was tepid.
Who are we?
Well, I'm Erica, and as you can see from this slide here, I'm an actress, singer, artist, podcast clown, you can tell that from the makeup, an expert on Transformers girls, and I'm serious, I will actually, if you say anything that is even slightly contrary to what I think about any female Transformers character, I will actively hurt you.
She will.
I am aggressive.
She will.
I'm like a Wolverine, I'll get you. Essentially, I'm not exactly an expert on Gunpla. I'm here for moral support and to do bits. And they're not gonna be good, so like lower your expectations. Okay.
Now who am I? Well, I'm Ari Silvera. I'm a translator, I'm a programmer, and I've been building Gunpla for 20 years, which means that I was born to host this panel.
I just want to say I wasn't.
No, but that's what I said last year. At the last year's panel, I was like, I've been watching mega anime for 30 years. I was born.
I was born to juggle.
Yeah, I'm a gay woman. I'm Argentinian. Third World Cup last year. We got kicked out of the women's one, but it doesn't matter. I'm a retired stand-up comedian, which is why I'm doing this. And, in this manner. And also, have you heard of the 5 Star Stories, the award-winning manga by Mamoru Nagano? Don't worry, you will, if you talk to me for 5 minutes. But yeah, we're here to entertain you and teach you some stuff for over an hour. And towards the end, the slides get a bit, let's say, lacking. And it's totally not because I'm disabled now, and it's kind of very hard to hold down a job while we also do this. In any case, let's get started. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Katrina, for also tolerating our bit as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
So Ari,
Yeah.
where does the history of Gunpla start?
So cast yourself to a nicer time, to a quieter time, World War II.
Yeah.
Before and after World War II, we started in Japan. The Japanese model kit industry starts with wooden model kits of battleships. Like a lot of companies started around this time. We have Tamiya, very well known for their supplies these days. They also
Can I just say, do we have to define what a battleship is? It's like an aggressive boat.
Yeah,
it's like a boat that's angry with you.
It's like a boat that's had a bad day. And I'm like twisting around. I'm glad these don't have cables. Like Tamiya, for example, was a lumber mill. And then they were like, oh, but kids want to build these wooden kits. We have a lot of wood, because we're a mill. So let's make some kits. So these were all happening kind of in the build-up to the war. Ignore the Imperial Japan flag.
Yeah, don't.
But it starts to become very popular. In the post-war, in 1950, we have the founding of Bandai. Keep an eye on those guys. And by the time we get to the 60s, in the post-war period, with the post-war economic boom in Japan, we start getting like character kits that are mainly plastic model kits. Here, like you can recognize the Adam West Batmobile. Why am I bumping this?
We all love Batman.
Yeah, right. I personally don't, but and this guy who's called.
Do you have to do this right now?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Les. And this guy, I don't know, he's just called Heavy Thunder, and he's from Imai. But yeah, so you start getting all of these like, in Japan this would be called like a character model kit because it's based on like a character from an existing property.
As opposed to a boat.
Or a car.
Green.
There we go. So, Bandai, who were already a model kit, toy maker, founded in 1950, as I said. In 1971, they entered the model kit market with Bandai models. This was their old logo. Look at that, that's so cute. Oh, he's like a funny little guy. So yeah, initially they weren't doing like super well because they were basically just like reprinting existing kits from like a factory that shut down. They started to get better known when they were, I don't have a photo for this, I'm sorry. They did model kits for this comedy film series called Truck Yarrow, which is like the kind of the truck guy or the truck bastard. Sorry, I had to say at least a curse. I'm sorry. But basically, it's a comedy series where like a guy has like an iconic cool truck. I think people.
That's his bit. His bit is that he has a truck and he's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's the truck.
People relate to iconic trucks here. Do you think?
I don't think there are any iconic trucks.
I don't think there's any iconic trucks. So, but yeah, so that got them some like kudos. And so they moved on to make kits for Space Battleship Yamato. So at this time in the early 70s, anime started to change. You got the commercialization of like the super robots with like Messenger and all that. But Space Battleship Yamato was like, hey, we can make cool space opera with some like adult themes and like epic storytelling. Epic. And
oh, it's so epic.
So epic. And that was, shoes.
Nice.
And I know, well, good save. And yeah, and also Leiki Matsumoto, very famous Japanese creator, was like involved in it, and so Yamato was like a huge hit. It was like a cultural reset. It was literally a cultural reset. It's not a joke. So they got the license. Bandai got the license to make the character kits for Yamato, which were all like really cool battleships. This is the 1974 Yamato itself.
Yeah.
And
battleships were already popular, essentially.
Yeah.
They had cornered the market as far as battleships goes, and then they were like, oh, let's.
Well, I would say that.
Well, not them, but I mean, battleships had cornered the market.
No, but they definitely, they were definitely cornering the market on the Yamato. Like the Yamato kits sold like hotcakes. They were like incredibly detailed, and they proved that they could, like, do it.
Yeah, what's better than a battleship on the water? Perhaps it's space. Oh.
Yeah, it's time again.
Okay, all right.
So let's do this one more time. We need to explain Gundam again. That's us. You guys are off screen.
Yeah.
We're gonna feed you Gundam.
You're gonna have a delicious Gundam burger meal. And
it's gonna be very plasticky, I'm sorry. Some die-cast metal in there. You shouldn't eat this. You shouldn't be here. We should stop.
You should go home.
You should leave. There we go. In 1979, Mobile Suit Gundam aired. It was a failure. It did not do well. It got cancelled. It innovated greatly in the field of giant robots, giant robot anime, because up until this point, giant robot anime, while it could get very dramatic and very epic, it was like superhero-y kind of.
Yeah, it was very pulpy. It was very, it was like, oh, look at that man, he's flying.
Yes, and whereas Gundam was like a legit war story. Like it was pretty tragic. It was pretty grim.
Yeah, like you don't watch a show about like child soldiers for whimsy.
Yes.
well, I do, but like,
I mean, at the end of every episode, the preview, the next episode preview would end with the tagline, "Who will survive?" Which
it's a bit grim. It's a little bit grim.
1979 kids show. So it failed because they were trying to target it at like the little kids demographic, and little kids didn't fully get this in 1979 because it was like, oh,
Not huge on war, little kids.
Yeah.
Not huge on, you know, the ethos of taking the life of another man and, you know.
Yeah, because what they were aiming to do with this creation, they were aiming to lift Gundam to the level of stuff like Yamato. Actually, Yamato was a big influence in terms of like what you could do with anime. So yeah, obviously very important. And so in 1980, we have the first Gunpla. Now, what had happened is that at the time, robot shows got like toy lines. There was like a failed toy line by Clover that was like, you know, super like, you know, combinations and stuff and diecast.
Yeah, very toy. If you've seen, you know, you've seen like 70s like toy, like anything from like Popinica, for example.
Yeah.
If you've seen stuff like that, like your things with like the rocket fists and they turn into like a vague space thing.
Yeah,
very,
very vague in most cases.
Okay, there's no need for that. Show some respect. Anyway.
I will kill anyone that brings me a Raideen toy. No, I will not. I'm very nice.
But yeah, so essentially they had that for Gundam, but it, you know, much like the show, it wasn't super popular.
No, it didn't really hit with the target market.
No.
Well, because they didn't quite, the demographic was kind of being invented.
Yeah.
So what happened is in reruns, Gundam garnered an audience because of its like more sophisticated storytelling. And this was bolstered by two things. First of all was that in 1980, Bandai decides to release, I did research this thoroughly. I don't know exactly what the decision-making process was, but they got the license to make character kits of Gundam, starting with the very, very first Gunpla, the 1 in 144 RX-78 Gundam, the protagonist. You're gonna see this guy a lot, by the way, so better get used to him.
We call him Granddad around here.
We call him Granddad. I'm gonna call it the classic Gundam to not confuse people. You know, and while the runners are in color here, this is just to indicate how you should paint them. This was all white, okay?
Yeah. Very simple stuff. This is like,
yeah,
you know,
but
1980.
But the thing is, this was relatively inexpensive for the time, and very detailed. And so you could like customize it very easily, and it was basically treated as if it was the model kit of like a battleship or a tank. To the point that in the original model kit line, you actually had this is a tank from Gundam, this is a battleship from Gundam, you know, so you had the whole line treated as if it was like one altogether like kind of military line.
And I just really quickly,
what?
I hadn't caught that picture before of like the gun cannon just looking at the ship. He's just like, oh blimey.
Oh, yeah, this guy. Yeah, I don't think they can see very well.
He's like,
yeah. He's like, I don't know about that.
I don't know about all this mess.
Don't know about all this. What's all this then?
Oh, Gundams with a British voice. That's fine.
So the early Gundam fandom is bolstered by two main forces. Inside you, there are two lions. One wants to build Gunpla, the other one wants to read Geido Genshi.
Yeah.
So,
if you don't know, if you weren't here for like the panel last year, the Gundam fandom for several years was essentially just kept afloat by women who wanted to see those boys do a kiss.
Yeah.
And they were right for it, and we respect them and we salute them.
I was not able to locate any images of early Gundam BL Doujin because, well, let's just say my BL expert was not available when I was putting this together, and I'm not a BL expert, sadly, more of a Yuri person. But this is a modern doujinshi of Gundam characters, Sharaz Nabla and Garma Zabi.
You get the vibe, though, right?
You get the vibe.
Kissing, they're from space. You know.
Yeah, they're boys who want to kiss. There you go. That's the vibe. That's literally starting it. And the other side, that sadly our panel is not about the BL.
I'm really sorry.
Maybe next year, a history of Gunpla BL.
If you want to take your hat off and throw it on the ground and then like stamp on it a couple times and go, oh! You know, that kind of thing. You can do that. But like, you know.
I'm not gonna stamp on it. This is an expensive hat.
Yeah, keep it to yourself.
It's a collector's. Anyway, but what we have here on the left, very important, is Plamo Kyoshiro. This was a manga that came out around this time, which was about boys building Gunpla, and boys and girls building Gunpla and customizing it and then putting it in like a machine that made them be able to fight in a video game.
That is one of the like key draws for Gunpla, even to this day, is the customizability.
Yeah, and so there were like a lot of like new like ideas that people got, and it was basically reflective of like the vibe. The vibe early on was like a bunch of people doing BL and a bunch of people doing Gunpla, and people often say it's not Gundam that became a phenomenon in Japan, it's Gunpla that became a phenomenon. I think I need to point that there. But Gundam
Here we go.
Gundam did influence anime a lot in creating the real robot revolution. In basically, as I was saying, treating the robots as a weapon of war that requires resupply, ammunition, and kind of repairs instead of being like a super heroic, supernatural thing. And,
it's a whole genre, baby. It's a whole genre.
And that retroactively meant that the previous stuff like Messenger and all of that became like the super robots. But so within the first couple of years after Gundam, you had like Super Dimensional Fortress Macross, which was fantastic and has some really cool transformable planes like the BF-1J.
Oh, is that
I'm going to kill you. Do not say that. Do not say that name in my presence.
Is that
Don't name him. Don't do this.
Is that the is that the Robotech or?
Oh, that's worse.
Am I getting that right?
I thought you were gonna say Jetfire.
Oh! Who?
Exactly. So this is our Trooper Photons, which was also grim, dystopian, far future. She's just popping out going and it has again more utilitarian looking mechs. So the entire genre is evolving in anime, and obviously all of these had model kits and action figures. There was a series of action figures in Macross that there's one figure you guys might know about.
We already did that.
We did that.
We kind of did just imply that.
We kind of just did that.
Like a little bit of we just.
Yeah.
Can you tell this isn't scripted?
Next. So, as all of this was evolving and as Gunpla was becoming huge, Bandai decides to keep it going by creating the MSV and MSX lines. MSV stands for Mobile Suit Variation, MSX for Mobile Suit Experimental. So checking the time. We're actually doing really well. We might actually have time for questions at the end. We're kind of we're blazing saddles to do this. So the idea of Mobile Suit Variation and MSX was that you would have, MSV was different takes on existing robots from the show. So for example, you have I think this is hang on, it actually says here, it's the full armor Gundam, right? So it's the Gundam from the show, but with a cool armor on top, with a cool visor and stuff.
Which means a lot to you guys, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, the Gundam, I've already introduced what the Gundam is.
Oh yeah, Granddad!
Yeah, Granddad.
Oh, yeah.
You have a lot of variations of existing suits, but you also had in MSX, you had unseen designs, like this guy who's called the Gigan. I totally didn't just read that from the slide. And this was also very appealing because a lot of these designs were planned for the show, but because the show was cancelled and cut down, they couldn't have them in. So you have a lot of these really, really cool extra designs, the Dawaj, the Gasha? That's what it says. Gasha? Listen, the naming convention in Gundam is just put a bunch of syllables together and it just kind of works.
Yeah, you heard of Quattro Vegeta? You ever heard of that guy?
We cannot talk about that. We cannot talk about that guy. But yeah, you had this cool Zaku with a cool cannon, So the whole thing was becoming a universe, essentially.
Yeah. And that encourages the play pattern of customizing as well.
Yeah, because you could use parts of one or the other. This sounds very basic now, but
yeah,
back
in the day it was just
Yeah. And speaking of customizing, it's time for the hobbyist market. Hooray! So in the 80s, Japan is really the birth of Japanese otaku culture, where you had people that were dedicated anime fans. And Gundam was right there when this was developing. And so you have started getting garage kits, which were basically low print run kits, sometimes made literally in people's garages.
No, yeah.
Literally out of resin mostly.
Yeah, we're not talking your big production, big name like Bandai, freaking Poppy, that kind of. No, this is a guy. Yeah.
But the funny thing is that the companies, they were but what if we also did that? What if we also hired a guy?
Yeah.
We can hire a guy.
Nintendo, hire this man. That kind of. That kind of.
So they put out a magazine called B Club, which was basically aimed at the hardcore hobbyist market, resin builders, and all of that. And then B Club started releasing their own kits. Some of them were fully original kits. They were in resin, which is much harder to deal with. You have to do a lot of cleaning, a lot of work. I have never built with resin, probably never will. It's extremely high maintenance, and I am already myself. I have to high maintenance this, so I'm not going.
She's not kidding.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. But But they were also doing a lot of these were also like expansion sets for Gunpla that Bandai was releasing, and they were doing that with B Club until like the early 2000s. Although the magazine itself, and they also had a shop. All of that kind of closed in the late 90s, but it was emerging like in the 80s when this was happening. Bandai was also trying to diversify at this point. They were funding. They were funding. They were funding original video animation in high quality. They were working, like for that they actually, Bandai put the money down for Royal Space Force, which was Gainax's first production. You know, the guys who made Evangelion. You might have heard of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
We all love Gainax, or we don't.
Yeah, there we go.
Y'all heard of things?
But
You
yeah,
heard of references to things?
have you heard of things? But yeah, so by the mid 80s, the thing was that the massive, aside from the hobbyist market, the sort of the mass phenomenon of Gunpla was already 5 years old with no new, no new anime productions inside. And it was kind of like with a downturn. Bandai had expanded to make similar model lines for a lot of the other real robot anime that were successful, but it was always kind of diminishing returns. So they were like, you know what's a good idea then? More Gundam? Just make more Gundam.
Just a little bit more Gundam.
Just a bit more Gundam. Just make a bit more Gundam.
A little more Gundam.
And so they brought back a lot of the original staff to make an incredible sequel, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. It's a bit of a messy show in my opinion, but it's kind of like a flawed masterpiece.
That's that guy.
Yeah.
That's that guy there.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That's Quattro.
Yeah, it's that guy that we're not allowed to talk about.
I don't want to say his last name. Please don't make me say it in front. It's an all ages audience. I don't want to say.
It's from space. It's not a bad word.
He is from space.
It's not bad words.
Well, I'm not going to say it. You can say it.
Okay.
But anyway, Zeta Gundam had like a lot of like the hottest up-and-coming mecha designers involved. A lot of the stuff, the original director Yoshiki Tomino returned, and of course they had a new Gunpla line.
Wow.
Yeah. Now,
shiny.
What Bandai realized from the original series, the Gunpla line, was that people didn't really buy the ships and the tanks. They just wanted the robots.
Yeah, which
I mean, it's kind of understandable.
Yeah, I think we can understand, we as Transformers fans, I presume.
One would imagine.
One would imagine that you like robots, and if they're like a truck, that's like a secondary thing. You don't want to just get a truck that is a truck. Was they Sysformers? Thanks, I stole that from the internet.
Nice. Funnily enough, a lot of the transformation gimmicks were like the thing in the mid-80s because of Macross and because of Transformers just starting. So there's actually a lot of transformable mobile suits. None of the ones on screen we're no, they're not.
It's a good.
Yeah, but there's like a bunch of them. The Zeta Gundam itself is transformable. That's just the Gundam Mark II there. But yeah, they basically just sold mobile suits. There were a lot of different mobile suits. There were like transforming ones, loads of different gimmicks. But the technological advancement for these kits was that they included polycaps, which were basically these like joint parts with like softer plastic, and they allowed for greater articulation, but they were less durable.
Yeah. Rubber parts from the 1980s. We've all heard the stories.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, Gundam is back, big success, it continues, and in 1987 we get the launch of Gundam Sentinel. Now normally I wouldn't be talking about something as minutiae as this. Sorry Gundam Sentinel fans, it's not that important.
Yeah, but, we said it!
Yeah, we said it!
You big Sentinel heads out there!
If I owned this mic I would drop it.
Coming for you!
But basically this was like a spin-off novel that was published in a hobbyist modeling magazine that took place at the same time as Zeta Gundam sequel, very creatively named Gundam Double Zeta. Sequel.
Because it's like two. It's like the
yeah, because like the first and then there's
it's like the second one.
Yeah.
It's like double. It's like two, and it's like the second one.
Yeah. If they had done a third one, it would have been triple Zeta.
Obviously, that's impossible.
Silly. This place is going nowhere. I'm gonna eject myself from it. And so Gundam Sentinel was like a something like a photo novel. People remember photo novels? No? Okay. Well, I mean,
it's like a book
It's like a book with pictures, but not a comic.
Imagine that, like a book with pictures, and it's not a comic.
So it was kind of like
Hungry Hungry Caterpillar. It's like that.
I don't know what that is. Is that like a British kids thing?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not British, I don't know. I'm from South America.
That's you. That's what you sound like, right?
Call me back when England wins another World Cup. We just won our third one.
If I gave a single heck about footy, you would be on the... Okay.
So Gundam Sentinel, it was aimed at the kind of hobbyist market. It was a more serious adult story. And it featured very, very detailed designs. This is the S and XS Gundam. EXS stands for extraordinarily superior. And what they introduced in this line, they introduced two things. One was a snap fit assembly where you didn't need to glue the kits. Well, you still needed to for stability because this is early days.
Yeah, but essentially they molded them in with little pegs and ports so you could push them together and they would stay mostly.
Yeah, I mean, the current ones, they definitely will.
Oh yeah.
The other thing they introduced was what Bandai called system injection, which is basically multi-shot injection, baby. We're gonna talk about plastic now.
Okay.
So
like plastic, you heard of polymers?
I heard of polymers. Yeah, big deal. Big fans of polymers. So basically, when you shoot the liquid plastic into a machine, and you make the part, whatever, but you could make the mold so that it has like gates, so that you can do like one color and another color in the same runner. So a runner could have like a bit of red for the shoes, a bit of blue. And then you could have like the other runners for all of the massive amounts of white parts.
For the record, we recognize that this would be much better with a visual aid.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I wanted to put that in there, but also I thought it might be boring.
But you're still talking about it.
That's because I think it's awesome. Because I saw a lot of people that it was really cool.
And you're right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, handsome stranger.
Thank you, stranger. But yeah, so the Gundam Sentinel-Online introduced all of these very important technologies that basically continue to be included in Gunpla to this day. And thus, in 1990, we have the first. Actually, this is going to be a great visual aid for what I was talking about.
Look at his sexy little garter there.
So this was the first high-grade Gundam, the high-grade Gunpla. Now, the high-grade Gunpla, the concept was to make like sort of the ultimate kit of the Gundam, celebrating basically 10 years of Gundam in 1990. And
that's when you say hi, Erica. No? Okay.
That was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Get
I'm
out.
not doing this for you.
So the high-grade featured a few things. First of all, it included the snap fit assembly that already Gundam Sentinel introduced. And it featured all this color accuracy because of what Bandai called true system injection, which was basically a different kind of multi-shot injection that had existed for years. They didn't invent it.
Yeah.
But now these parts that are the runner, this is what the runner looks like when you buy it. I'm gonna get out of the way from it so you can see it properly. So you see how some parts even have like up to 3 colors because it's like layers and layers of stuff that's been sandwiched and like one shot and then another shot of different color plastic. And it just, looking at this in 1990 was insane. Now I built this kit in 2001. It was fine. It's aggressively okay.
It was lackluster.
Well, in 1990 you just built it out of the box and it looked like this. That was really impressive. Came with some stickers.
For the day especially, because again, it's like, you don't need to paint this. A lot of them before this were like, they came, they had multiple colors, but you had to paint them things.
To look even vaguely accurate. And this just comes in all the major correct colors. And also,
I can't paint. Can you paint?
No.
No! I mean, I can.
No!
I have an airbrush enough.
No!
I have like an extractor fan.
No!
No! But it also had like a bit of an internal skeleton that kind of like held everything together. Which again was very floppy, but it was, the intent was there. They made a Zeta Gundam in the same line, which was transforming, and it's not good. I'm making a face for those people that can't see me. It's not good. But anyway, these are...
What? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you all the way over there. Can you say it louder?
No.
Okay.
So, some of you might recognize the Winged Gundam.
Yay!
I'm gonna be honest, not a fan of the Winged Gundam, but I thought you guys might like it.
Look, it's a bird. It says so.
It does. Wait, where does it say?
It says bird mode.
Oh,
It's like a bird. I wish I were a bird.
that's nothing.
All right.
Leave. So in the 1990s, I love you. So I'm just checking time. Okay, we're actually doing really, really, really well. So basically in the 90s, they get to a point with the original continuity of Gundam called the Universal Century Continuity, where it was kind of, the continuity was becoming like a bit too much for like mainstream shows. They were still making movies and straight to video stuff, but they decided that to capture new audiences, they were gonna make alternate universes. This remains to this day the primary way in which new Gundam shows kind of happen. You get movies and like small like online only stuff that is for the classic like continuity, Universal Century, but for anything that is like meant for the mass market, they're all their own universes, so you can just pick up and watch.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything in Transformers like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can. That's kind of high concept.
Yeah, but
The aligned continuity.
so the first alternate universe came in 1994. That was G Gundam, which is wonderful. It's basically Street Fighter 2 with Gundams.
You'll never guess what the G stands for.
God,
It stands for good.
good Gundam.
It stands for Gundam. it's the Gundam Gundam.
It's the Gundam Gundam. They called it the Burning Gundam in America because they couldn't say God.
Yeah.
And then of course in 1995 we have Gundam Wing.
The bird.
Just will be communication, blah blah blah, Hiro Yui.
Yeah.
Omayo Kuros.
I have no idea. She's speaking in tongues.
I'm speaking Japanese. But the model kit lines continued in kind of improving and iterating. The smaller 1 in 144 kits were very simple for these lines, but the 1 in 100, the bigger scale ones, were incorporating, they were starting to incorporate beam effect parts, as you can see. And also, transformation gimmicks, the very detailed panel lining all in all, because I can remember 1995 for this, and this is super, super, super detailed, like some chromy kind of golden parts. It was pretty decent.
It's pretty rad. I actually
Pretty good stuff.
I actually had a version of this kit when I was a wee bab in the far-flung backwards time year of 2000 and something. I remember I got it for Christmas actually. This is not really relevant, but I got it for Christmas, and my dad got it me from a trip, and then we opened it for Christmas, and then he was like really annoyed that he had to put it together. And I was like, oh, but I want to play with it. And he was like, oh, listen.
So,
You've got to wait 20 minutes to an hour. Sorry. It's not what my dad sounds like.
So in 1995, as the alternate universes are happening, they released a straight-to-video series called the A Team, which happens in the old continuity of the Universal Century. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be something I would note, except that the kits they released for the line were high grades, but in the smaller scale of 1 in 144. And this is basically the precursor of what we now call the main high grade line, which is usually called high grade Universal Century, but that's slightly a misnomer, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, HGUC, or huguk. Huguk, that's the noise I make when I'm like, I want to say half in the barrel.
That's the noise that I make when I go to the Gundam Mad stall. I see Gorinder and go like, huguk. And then Gorinder is like, please talk like a person.
Onomatopoeia, how everyone like onomatopoeia, is that doing anything for you Philistines?
So anyway, you got these very, very detailed kits with very kind of modern proportions of the ground Gundam and the classic Zaku, but kept all modernized with new proportions by Hajime Katoki.
We do love the Zaku.
I do love a Zaku.
Got a Zai on you.
I do love a good Zaku. So then, in 1996, the ante goes up because Bandai had realized, oh, all the people that were watching Universal Century in the 80s, they have jobs now? They're like, they have more money?
Which is absurd to me. The idea of being I gotta stop doing this, but it was like, oh, it's like Transformers, imagine that! Do you get it? It's like a reference to the things that you do, that you lot do.
See, I don't talk down to my audience. I like you.
It's just because I'm better than you and smarter and prettier. And
I know, I just keep dabbing.
I'm like really cool and like everyone likes me.
I I'm 40 years old. That was not a joke. I turned 40 in March. I have my ID with me. If you want to.
Get out of here, old girl. This is the new bloods time.
So in 1996, we get the Master Grade.
Master Grade.
Master Grade was a larger scale. Sorry?
Master is better than high.
Yeah, like we have high and we have Master.
Yeah.
So we have Master Grade, which was in a bigger scale than the high grades. So it was like 1 in 100. So if you're thinking like your 1 in 144 would be like your deluxes.
Yeah, this is like a Voyager.
It's like a Voyager.
Or a Mega for your old schools.
A Mega.
Is that like it's like saying Mega to like the tune of like the Sega? Is that what you're doing?
Mega.
Okay.
Anyway, so the Master Grade, they have a lot of detail.
No, it's fine.
So they had a lot of detail. Those shoulder parts were actually tampographed on there, which was again rare. And he had some opening hatches because he had like a bit of internals, a bit. The articulation was very good. It was very impressive. Nowadays, this kit, absolute waste of time to not buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unless you're like the kind of person who's like, oh, I need it for the history and the.
I mean, do you?
Friggin'.
Do you ever? But it had like CGI on the box.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Wow!
It's the new millennium.
It's the future, not yet, because it was 96, so.
Yeah, but they're like gearing up. They're like, oh, look at all the future.
Yeah, so now Master Grade is a line that basically became the most popular line because it was, while it was like so sophisticated and fancy, it was still like snap fit and color accurate and had all these fun gimmicks, so it was a bit pricier, but it was still fairly accessible. It kept going basically to the present. I would say nowadays it's in a bit of a decline because high grade has kind of overtaken it and
nobody's got money for that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get more smaller kids. Yeah, exactly.
You didn't have money.
Yeah. In this economy?
I'm talking to you specifically.
Who are you looking at?
One of them. One of the people.
Yeah.
Wait, they're humans.
Yeah. Anyway, but Master Grade, while the main line has been kind of like not having many releases lately, they have expanded to other areas. They have like the Master Grade EX line, Master Grade Extreme, which are like ridiculously expensive, and they have like that is the Unicorn Gundam. It has like an inner frame that glows and you can change color. And you also have, and we haven't really talked about the SD kits, but the SD stands for Super Deformed. They're your chibi kits, very cute. And they did a Master Grade SD of the Freedom Gundam. I think that came out this year.
Look at his big head and little body and big feet. He looks like me at 13.
Perfect. But yeah, so we haven't talked about the SD kits. SD kits are normally like really, really easy to put together and not super detailed, but this is just like amazing. This looks so cute and also like kind of cool. It's like cute and badass.
Is this what Chugi means?
No, that's not what Chugi means.
Okay, I just wanted to make you smile. That's all I want is to make you smile.
One of us is in our 40s and also one of us is on TikTok and the other one is...
I just want to make you smile.
Anyway, it's time... I love you. Never talk to me again.
Oh my god, he's naked!
What?
He's naked! Where have his clothes gone? Oh my god.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. He's our grandpa.
Oh no! Oh, that's worse!
No! So this is the perfect grade. It came out in 1998. So in 1997, with the final movie of Neon Genesis Evangelion at the time, End of Evangelion, you had the perfect grade Evangelion model kit, which had all these really cool features. You had like all sorts of stuff. They had because Evangelions are like, they're kind of wearing like a rubber suit, and so you had like a rubber suit for the kid. It was very complicated. We need to get into that. It's not Gunpla, we don't care.
Yeah. This ain't about her.
Yeah, but they were like, oh, you know what would be good? You know what would really sell us a perfect grade? Gundam. So look at that classy big box. These guys retail for like, this guy retail for about like 12,000 yen, which is about like
$120.
Yeah, at the time, yeah, roughly. And it was a bigger scale again. It was almost double the size of a Master Grade because it was 160 scale. And this guy came with all the trimmings. If the trimmings are plastic trimmings and you shouldn't eat those,
Don't eat those.
don't. When you're trimming, when you're like building a model, little nubs that come out.
Look, I know some of us here grew up and we had like the little Polly Pockets and we used to chew on them, and I get it, okay? Like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yes.
I get it,
Yes.
but like, don't.
Just don't, it's very bad.
It's very sharp and thin, and you will choke, and also you will die, and I don't want that to happen to you. You're my friends.
You'll get yourself a heel mess.
Oh, shut up!
Don't tell our audience to shut up. You don't know those people. We have
No audience participation.
So when you built the perfect grade, which was beauty that defies God itself. Nobody? I thought it was a very funny. When I showed it to Erica, she really laughed. You guys have a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, was I supposed to laugh?
What? No,
Was
you
I
laughed
supposed
when I
to
showed
laugh?
it to you. When I showed a slide to you, you laughed.
Oh, yes! Ari, you do make me laugh. I love you.
I see how it is.
Anyway.
I'm not doing the rest of the panel. So, this had a ridiculous amount of gimmicks. You see like all of the panels that can open. You could like buy an extra LED kit to like light it up. And you build this entire inner skeleton. It felt like, like you're building like a real machine that then looked like a children's toy on the outside, but it was like a real machine.
It's
private color.
good stuff, man. Like,
It's real good.
Especially because here's the thing, right? You build something out of plastic and it's like, they're cheap enough. You put them together, they're quite lightweight. This thing weighs like a ton. This thing is like dense. It's like corned beef.
It's like a newborn. Like a newborn full
It's like a
of
lasagna.
It's like a newborn full of corned beef. Do you feed corned beef to newborns? I've never had babies.
I don't think you do that.
I don't know how that works. I
I think you mostly just like shovel rocks.
My friend's having a baby.
Until they stop talking.
My friend's having a baby in November. I'm gonna ask her. So here you have a comparison of how it scales up with the rest. So you have like the master grades there down in front, a high grade at the bottom, an SD, and then of course towering over them, the perfect
He's as
grade.
big as your dad and he'll never die.
Yeah! Now the perfect grade line continued. Sorry, do I have another slide for this? Yes. The perfect grade line continued, but with very, very sporadic releases because obviously they're very big ticket items. At some point they were releasing one a year, and that was a lot. And nowadays, there's not been that many releases, with the last one being in 2020, with the perfect grade Unleashed. Okay.
Oh, see, I was trying to think of what the song was from Sonic Unleashed. How's that go?
I don't know. So this one came with
He was a werehog!
no audience participation. So this one came with a lighting kit, as you can see here. I'm sorry, I think I keep covering for you guys. You guys have been really, so you should have sat somewhere. I'm really sorry that I'm kind of getting in the way of your slides. I'm gonna put these online, so don't worry. But
I'm being nice and sensible by sitting down.
you are being nice and sensible sitting down. It's hyperactive.
It's not because my knees hurt.
That's fair.
I'm 25.
So you have like a lighting kit that is included, and a much more detailed kit that is also like apparently like the build of it. I haven't built it. It costs £300 imported. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't have that money. I'm a part-timer, but it's a much more detailed kit. Like literally decades of technology going into all of these panels. The build is really interesting. Adam Savage from Mythbusters did a really cool build video of this. I mean, he's a bit of a tourist in the Gunpla space, but we'll let him because he's Adam Savage.
A lot of the people in the audience kind of look like Adam Savage, actually.
Mythbusters. Who doesn't know Mythbusters?
See, the joke is men with facial hair.
Oh, I don't. Oh,
You ever heard of men with facial hair?
I'm a
The
lesbian, so
Transformers scene?
no.
Okay.
So this is a comparison of it with the.
I try my best.
This is a comparison of it with the original Perfect Grade, so you can see a bit of the evolution. It's just like loads of little bits and bobs, loads of little panels that open. It's an intense, but also apparently really simple build that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
while also being very complicated.
Intuitive is the word.
If you buy this, set aside like a weekend from like 9 to 10 p.m.
No, text us about it.
What?
Ari's number is 07. That's it. No, that's just 07.
I completely
She's
forgot.
quite old.
I am quite old. I was born before Return of the Jedi came out. So
I wasn't.
we get it. So in 1999, so what we're doing now, by the way, in case it was not obvious, I should have explained this when we started with master grades, it's like we look at each line as they start chronologically, but then we need to continue because otherwise we need to be jumping back and forth. And nobody wants to do that, but nobody, I mean me. I don't want to do that. So in 1999, it's the 20th anniversary of Gundam, so we have another new model kit line. Now, at this point, you have the Master Grade line going, you have like some of the alternate universes going, HMS team was having its own line. So they're like, okay, we're gonna make this line called High Grade Universal Century. They're high grades, they're small, 1 in 144, affordable.
Yeah.
And the original idea was that it was going to be the line for like the weird designs from the 80s that you know nobody really cares anymore.
Yeah, like
aside from adult collectors.
the ones that aren't Grandad, the ones that are like, you know, it's the mobile suit schmimblem from episode 42.
Yeah, you know,
Something or other, you know, that kind of thing.
But the thing is, this line ended up being very popular because of its like affordability and they were fairly color accurate. Again, they have all of the trimmings.
And also cool robots, we like those.
And the thing is, that line continues to evolve with Universal Century lines, Universal Century releases. And then when we get into the 2000s, Gundam is like going through a revival, and the early 2000s with Gundam Seed and Gundam 00. And then they're like, what if we grab the high-grade Universal Century line and confusingly rename it, except not really, by adding the other continuities that are like legacy by now because we're in the 2000s and they were from the 90s. So we have the God Gundam that I mentioned before over there, and the Gundam X from after-war Gundam X in the 90s as well.
The X stands... no.
What?
No, I'm not going to try with that one. The X doesn't stand for anything.
You mean that social media site that we all use? Like X.com?
We're not calling it that!
Are you gonna seek this? Are you gonna repost it? So the reason why I said the line is confusingly named now because it used to be called High Grade Universal Century.
Or
now it
Huguk.
has what? Okay. But now it has the names of the other continuities. So it's High Grade Future Century or High Grade After War. But it's
You guys can make the noises, you can make the onomatopoeia for those yourselves.
Hagao? That sounds like we dropped like a pebble on a pond.
It's like a very, very butch chicken.
We have 13 minutes left, so we need to get cracking. But yeah, so the line expands with Gundams that are not, and also by this point, the high-grade line was already featuring, like, within like a couple of years of existing, it started featuring titular Gundams. So clearly the idea of it being just background robots kind of was dropped almost immediately.
Yeah.
But by this point, they're featuring, as you can see, protagonist Gundams. Now, in 2016, the Strike Freedom from Gundam Seed Destiny. It's the first mainstream Gunpla that gets released in bilingual manual. So this is the standard for anything that came after. If you buy any Gunpla made after, they're bilingual.
It's helpful if you don't speak Japanese.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you can still build the older ones. They're still easy enough to follow, but yeah. But the other important innovation was the for the high-grade AC Leo, the troop for the kind of like Mook from Gundam Wing. They did this easy build system where like each of the like different parts is all kind of like mapped out. So it's like, you know, arm, you know, it's all kind of like mapped out so that it's a fast build because they wanted you to buy a lot of them and army build them.
It's weird, it's really house proud, isn't it? It's like just having everything in its own little space, in its own little corner. I feel like it's like putting things in drawers.
I need to. Erica?
Yeah.
We need to keep going.
You're right.
I'm sorry, I can't follow that bit.
What bit? It was nothing. Go on.
It was nothing. In 2010, we got the real grades, which are also 1:44 scale. Now, this line is also ongoing because the idea of the real grade is that it's like a perfect grade, but it's little.
It's very, very ickle.
It's very wee.
Very wee.
And as you can see here, this is the real grade Gundam compared to the high grade Gundam. And as you can see, it's much more detailed, and it features an internal skeleton that is actually on the runner. This was wild.
Yeah, there's actually, you know, like jokes about him being naked aside. This is actually really cool because
because those parts are like jointed. Those parts are actually
like this whole section right here is like it is on the sprue, multiple parts. You don't have to pop it together because they're very small.
Yeah. Now that sounds real cool, right? So the thing is, these are extremely loose after a couple of years.
Oh yeah,
and they fall apart and the armor just pops out.
Yeah, it's terrible. I got a real grade.
I mean, they're okay. They're fun to build.
And I was living in Ladywood, readers. And when I was living in Ladywood, I had a real grade, and the face just popped off. And I know that's not the place, but the face popped off, and then it just disappeared into a rug, and then I moved away.
Because they're very small. The parts are very, very small.
Oh yeah, it's microscopic.
The more modern ones have this pre-molded frame, and they're much better for it. They're just much more stable. But as you can see, Bandai basically is just constantly experimenting, constantly iterating, because they want your money.
And they might get it.
They might get it. I forgot to put a slide about the thing, by the way, the interpretation thing. I just remembered right now on stage, TF Nation.
Yeah, it is TF Nation.
It's okay, we need to keep going, we don't have a lot of time. The only reason why, so this is Gundam Age. This was another alternate universe story that I'm accelerating. It's just happening. Now, this was another alternate universe, but the thing that was important here is that finally the high grade line for one of the currently airing shows caught up to high grade Universal Century in terms of quality. So like the Gundam Age line was just like poised to basically make it so that those lines were a bit more cross-compatible. Now, but the big thing was that in 2013 we have the birth of the Build series. Now this is going to be a bit meta, but this is basically a TV show where the kids buy Gunpla and build it, and then fight in a video game, much like that manga from the 80s that I was talking about.
It's so rad.
It's really cool.
So rad.
It's like it's obviously much more kid-friendly than Gundam.
Yeah, but it's like so rad.
But the innovation with this is that you had the affordable high grades and you had like the like accessory packs, because they really wanted really wanted to make customizing more mainstream. Like the backpack started getting these like standardized ports that you get in all of the high grades to this day, most of them to this day. They're exchangeable, and of course loads of accessory packs going with it, and even the main Gundam is the Build Strike, which is the main Gundam from Gundam Seed, but customized by the main character.
Yeah, like think of it as like your arms Micron when they had all the ports and they had the guns and they all fit in the same ports, and then everyone had a bunch of ports and guns and they could put anything on anywhere. And now they do that with like.
I've never heard of such a thing in Transformers.
Really? We're still okay.
Anyway, so in 2015 we have Iron Blooded Orphans. That's another.
Gotta start putting sensor bars on these movies.
Yeah, they're really shooting. But this is not Grandpa though.
Like his like, oh.
Anyway, so with this line, the idea was that they were gonna have frames, but for all of the high grades. This was an interesting experiment because all of the Gundams, even though they all looked really different, they had the same frame. There was a cool idea and there was cool lore around it, but again, these guys are a bit floppy.
It's like dressing up your dollies.
Yeah, because they actually had interchangeable armor, and in the show you saw the Gundam Barbatos, like when it got damaged, they would just like glom on armor from other monsters.
Yeah, again, this and the Build series is basically just like making that type of customization way more mainstream by encouraging it.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
So I'm gonna kind of skip this one. Just the Universal Century lines, they keep getting crazier. Look at this guy, he's insane.
Look at these little guys, that's cute, right?
But they're great though. This is when plastic model, like Gunpla starts like really, a few years ago they really started going for like really easy to build kits that are accessible for everyone.
These were like a fiber, they're so small.
And they're so cute as well, and they come molded in the right colors. They're really fun. This is Haro, who we haven't mentioned, but he's the mascot of Gundam. That's right, the robot show has a robot as a mascot.
And it's not grim. Yeah.
He's got a thing. And all of this gets expanded into, all of this gets rolled into a line that is not Gunpla, but you're gonna definitely see it at the Gundam Matso, which is 30-minute missions, and it's subline's 30-minute sisters. And this is using a lot of the concepts for that Leo that I showed you that had like all of the like easy to build stuff, and where the kid is like all mapped out on the runner, so it's easy to build. That's why they're called 30-minute missions, because in theory you can build in 30 minutes. They're full of 3mm ports.
This is like bringing the customizing stuff to a whole other level.
Yeah, and like basically they're also cross-compatible with Gundam. They have the same backpack adapters, so you can also like use your Gunpla with it.
Make your own!
Yeah.
Make your own!
And then they were like, oh hey, we can do girls.
We can do girls! You guys like girls? Woo. I like girls.
Yeah! I like girls.
I like girls.
All the cool weapons, it's all cross-compatible, baby. But, and this was also a response to the fact that competitor Kotobukiya was doing similar lines, but they were much more expensive, and Bandai, being the bigger company, could just crank these guys out for a very low price.
Yeah.
They're really fun to build. Like, you can paint them, you can customize them. It's wild. But then in 2020, this is the second to last slide, we're almost done.
Oh, hey!
Yeah, I know, it's good because we only have 6 minutes. So this is the entry grade. This is like the latest brand new Gunpla line, started in 2020. Not a lot of releases in it, but...
You'll never guess the design ethos behind this thing.
Well, it's the entry level one.
What?
No! So it's the entry level Gunpla. I'm sorry that we've had to blitz to this last bit, by the way.
We were very bad at time management.
Yeah, it's almost like we both have ADHD. So the idea with the entry grade is, again, much like the idea of the original high grade, Bandai is clearly still trying to do this 30 years later, by the way, is to create a Gundam model kit that anyone can build, but also that it looks really good. Yeah, when it's completed, like Look at that. Erica, talk about it while I take a sip.
Yeah, like for example, if any of you guys here are enthused by the panel and you think, oh, you know what, I've never gotten into Gundam or building model kits or whatever, that sounds like my kind of thing. And if you're not, you know, super confident in your ability to make something, this is a good place to start. It looks pretty good. It's pretty
Because they've introduced the tool-less, the completely tool-less construction.
Yes.
This means that the parts do not require, like they're designed so that you can just snap them off the sprue. You can do that with the other ones.
You can do that with the other ones, but it wouldn't look as good. You'd have to
No, but this one is
everything.
like, well, I literally built one of these in like 20 minutes one time.
Yeah. Just like get your thumb on that bad boy. Just, you know.
Now, you would think that it's very static. It's actually super articulated. And the eyes, you see how they have like the black around them? That is achieved with shadows. They designed that so that like the shadow would look like the black around the eyes. It's insane. And they're really cheap as well. They're really affordable. It's a great way to start.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, which brings us to the end of the history of Gunpla, or the beginning.
Oh, I get it. Like
Because where do you start? Well, Entergrade.
Well, yeah, Entergrade is a good place to start. But if you know, like if you've done like model kits before, maybe you've done, I don't know, you've done some Kotobukiyas and you've done some.
Yeah, we were meant to talk about Kotobukiya and other companies, but all together now, we didn't have time. Sorry about that. It's been kind of mad. I got promoted. I'm a project manager at work, and it's kind of a lot. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, like, there's a lot of different lines, and we've shown you mainly this guy, you know, this guy.
Yeah, Granddad. It's Granddad. Everyone say Granddad.
But the Gundam designs are...
Said no audience participation. You failed.
But Gundam designs are actually extremely varied, and the key thing is if you see a high-grade kit, usually like a high-grade is a good place to start. You see a high-grade design that looks good to you, just buy it, just get it.
Yeah.
Right?
For example, like I have so many Gundams. Do you know how much Gundam I've watched?
You watched one show.
I've watched one show, but it is the most recent and best one.
Yeah, Gundam the Wish for Mercury. By the way, it's not up for interpretation. They are gay. Bandai.
Lesbians! Yay!
We did it, we arrested. But yeah, so basically any of the kids that if you see a kid and you can afford it and you're like, okay, I feel confident with this, like, just go for it.
Just do it.
It's definitely good. There's some entry grades that are like Pokemon if you're into that, like Pac-Man.
Yeah, they got Pac-Man, they got like also they got Kamen Rider now for like Kamen Rider.
Yeah, Ultraman. You like Ultraman?
Woo! If you like anything and there's like even a vague market for it in Japan, then like they're gonna make model kits of that.
They're gonna make model kits, definitely. Yeah. I'm probably Bandai. So in any case, we do need to draw this to a close. I'm sorry that it's been a bit rushed near the end.
Sorry that most of my bits have been completely nothing.
I'm sorry that most of her bits have been completely nothing. Thank you for laughing at all of my bits. Her bits are nothing. Love you, friend. So we're just doing the acknowledgements. Did I spell acknowledgements right? I don't know. Let's just references and pick credits, but we're just gonna say our thank yous to Billy and
the entire staff at TF.
and all the staff here. Katrina, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Looking after this. Thank you to Real Big Boy Aerosol staff. They know who they are.
Yeah, Real Big Boys.
Yeah, thank you to Katai Live. That's a group of streamers. They're friends of mine. And thank you to the creator of Gundam, Yoshiyuki Kill 'Em All Tomato. That's literally his nickname. So yeah, and thank you, Erica, for like asking me to do this with you this year.
Thank you. I did basically nothing, and I kind of undermined your whole vibe, but like
Yeah, you did it.
It was like sort of funny sometimes.
It was really funny.
That's a net win. As far as I'm concerned.
I love the bit where I got to do a silly wrestling thing.
Oh yeah.